I even start, I just want to give you a learning that if you are like a speaker at LastCon, do not go to Six Flags the same week because I've literally lost my voice at the roller coaster. Um, all right. Good morning, everybody. And first of all, thank you so much for being here. It really means a lot. And as you already introduced, I am working as a senior cybersecurity consultant at Visa. I work with a lot of startups, uh, and there are a lot of things that I have in mind. And I've been speaking at LastCon for a couple of years now. I think it is really great, and I am really passionate to help specifically startups because I see them stumble not because of lack of innovation or lack of passion, but really because of security. And I know it's just sound cliched, but it is true. And Catherine is here with me. She exactly knows what we do, and it definitely sinks my heart because startups do such a good job, but the security thing, it always becomes like something that's holding them back, and I really don't want that to happen. So I want to create this awareness and help them as much as I can. So again, first of all, thank you so much for being here. I am here because I really believe in a bold vision, which many people call bold, that we can deliver security in today's world in just 6 months. And if you have security, you can increase and improve the operational efficiency in a very small span of time. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to give you some tips and techniques that you can go today, talk about it, and start implementing it from next week onwards. And I really hope that this ambitious vision of mine that seems ambitious right now, if you follow along with me, you can really believe in it and you can start doing something about it. So that's what I'm here for. Well, before I begin, I want to give a disclaimer because I know I have seen a lot of AI companies coming in, AI tool requests coming in, and there are a lot of people. So there was a research by Gartner 2025, and they say 68% of the enterprises who are actually going to use AI tools or actually are using AI tools, they don't even know where the data is actually going. So even before I start the presentation, I just want you all to just implement two things. Start with those two simple things. Number one, if you are having any kind of due diligence for the vendors or like AI, like we are also doing that, add 3 questions in it. Number one, ask them about how are they training your data. Number two, ask about what the compliance that they have, whatever it is, like what external audits that they have gone through. And number three, ask them what are the AI guardrails they have in place, which means that when they are putting your data into LLM model, like you'll talk to so many people, they're telling you that, we can scan your repository and we can, scan it through the LLMs. Please ask them, what are the AI guardrails? Do you have any kind of DLP? If my source code has anything sensitive, will you be able to check it, block it at that point of time, or anonymize it before it goes on? So definitely add that. And the second thing that you can do is add like a lightweight tabletop exercise, which means check with your team, if that AI model goes down, how will your company handle your data or your team? Like if the AI goes down, your company should not go down. So those are I just want to have that disclaimer before even we, start this presentation. When you're going to use AI, have those two simple things implemented. And I know there are like a lot of wisdom and knowledge in the first few minutes. So now let me tell you a story. Story about Mike and Arjun. So Mike is a 28-year-old coding wizard, and Arjun is he's like an experienced entrepreneur, and they are sitting in a room, they're tossing ideas back and forth, when suddenly Arjun says, hey Mike, what if we can make healthy habits as addictive as social media? And Mike's eyes just light up and he's like, yeah, let's just gamify this grind. Let's change soda for water, send them motivation, send them streaks. And one talk goes into another, and now they have like a built-in application within a month. They roll it out, and what they see is great traction. Audience are loving it, people are getting it. So they want to expand their model. And as most of the startups, they hit a bottleneck, which is they reach to investors and they want some money to expand their project. What happens today, like 80% of the startups, and that's why I said, like me and Catherine, like we see startups, we work with them, and what we see today, 80% of the investors, and this is not just a number, it is something that I have experienced it, they want security assessment as the first level of due diligence before they release a fund. That's the bottom line of it. So in this case, Mike and Arjun, they find a good investor who's like, all right, you don't have good security. You did not think about security while you were building the application. So I'll give you 6 months of time frame. If you're able to build or have like a strong security foundation in the next 6 months, I'm going to release you this $200 million funding. So now let's move from the story to a role play. You all have to imagine with me today that you all are CISO for Mike and Arjun's company. And you have to help them build the security ground up. So just think about it. Think like you are a CISO and move with me along with the flow, right? So we're going to have this game plan. So what we're going to tackle are these 5 important domains, which ideally all the startups should have from day one. So we're going to tackle these 5 domains. One is asset inventory. Then we'll talk about threat detection. Then we'll have incident response, compliance, and vendor risk. Again, it's going to be a little long. Don't get bored. If you're bored, like ask me questions. But we'll try to keep it interactive and entertaining, okay? So again, if you've followed me before, you would always know that I always start with asset inventory. And the reason is I really, really believe that until you know what is there to protect, you won't be able to protect it, right? That is why asset inventory is so important. And I think most of you know it, but sometimes it becomes such a big pain that we feel like we are going to tackle it later. That is why I want to start with asset inventory, and I've coupled it with baseline assessment in month 1. Why? Because they do a magical role. They are actually feeding into each other. So if you think about it, if you have an asset inventory, you know which assets to scan. And if you're having a baseline assessment and you're scanning your network, you can find some, undiscovered assets that you did not know about, and you can feed it back into asset inventory, like discovering new assets. And that is why we're going to tackle that in month 1. So there are a few tools. Again, most of them are open source, some are commercial, but we'll start with open source and see with minimal cost what can startups build like today itself. So on your left, you see this tool called Open Audit. So Open Audit is a great tool if you want to scan your network and do some asset discovery. It's a great tool out there. It's an open source. What it does, it scans your network infrastructure. It'll find your domains. It'll find all your assets, basically anything that you can discover on the network. Again, Open Audit is not great for physical inventory. So for that, you have to like tag your assets, but that's not even like a big problem for companies, because usually when they buy, let's say laptop or tablets, they have like a tag associated with it and they scan it. So Open Audit is mainly for network scanning to check what assets are there in your inventory and discover those assets. And then you have the second tool called Snipe IT. Snipe IT is an asset, you can think of it like as an asset management tool. And what it does is it can manage all your software assets, your physical assets, all your assets, your dependencies, your libraries, all of that can be managed here. So you can have your audit history. You can have when was it last scanned, where is it, like have you patched it, are there any vulnerabilities? You can do all of that in Snap IT. So now imagine you have Open Audit. From Open Audit, you have the CSV export. You automate it. You put it like Snipe IT is going to pull the CSV exports. You're not doing anything. It's automatically scanning on the scheduled time. It's pulling in the CSV export with the assets, and it is going to manage everything here. So this is just like a dashboard of Snap IT. I just wanted to show you, like here you see 2,546 assets that are scanned. It's going to show you which location. It actually, you can't see it, but it's categorizing it in different areas. Like this is software, this is hardware it is associated with. So it can categorize based on what you know. And you can also assign like the owners, which I highly recommend. which I know many times when it's like legacy, you miss it. But if you're startups, you're starting out, please always have an owner, because if there are vulnerabilities, you can always go back and you know who to connect with. I was just talking to somebody in the next room, and he was explaining me about false attribution, which means that you many times you do not even know that which code or which component is associated with which team. So unless you know that, you're going in like full circle. So that's why I like always add the owner. So these are the two tools that if you use together, it actually gives you like an enterprise grade level security. That's why I wanted to bring these two up. Again, most of the startups I know, like you guys use cloud, which is like, let's say if you're using AWS, you don't have to go into Open Audit and Snap IT. You can use the native tools that it offers. So like Security Hub, right? Security Hub scans your config, your guard duty, your inspector, and pulls in all the assets, and you have voila, all your assets right here, right? So you don't even have to go to fancy tools if you're just on, let's say, a single cloud. Sometimes there are like startups, not always, but sometimes there are startups which are like hybrid setup, more complex setup. That's when they want to go for like commercial tools. So you have tools like Orca Security. Why commercial tools are better in complex environment is because when they scan your environment, it does not bring any kind of production issues, or like there's no downtime of your application. So it's very seamless. So that is why people prefer commercial. But again, this is a costly tool. So let's say you're a startup and neither commercial is working for you. And that might, like, let's say the tools that I showed you, it's not even doing what you want to do. Today, in today's world, literally, you can build your own tool. And I have built a tool, just like a very simple tool, but I want to show you, if I can build a tool, you can do it for sure. And I'm not like a great coder or something, right? This is a simple tool that I built. What it's doing is, there's a script that's running, and it is pulling the API from the cloud. So now you can integrate it with AWS, Azure, GCP, Open Audit, whatever you want to integrate it. You're pulling in that information. Or if you have your API credentials, you can add those integrations. And you can add notifications. So you can say if there is a new asset that is discovered, then give me an alert using a Slack or email. And again, this is a very, very basic tool that I built just to show you all that you can do that. And once you have all your APIs and all your environment integrated into it, just run discovery. Right now, I don't have any connected, but you can just run asset discovery and it'll scan your assets. So these are just simple tools. You don't even have to like get into like complex details. Do what is right now necessary for you. And that is, you need to know what are your assets in your network that you can scan and you need to know about, okay? Okay. So now that you know about all your assets, what do you do next? Which is baseline assessment. So baseline assessment is, again, in simple terms, just like a vulnerability scanner. So OpenVAS, I am assuming many of you would know, but we'll double click for those who don't. OpenVAS is, again, a very simple open source vulnerability scanning tool. And again, before we double click on this, the beauty today is that these tools, these SaaS, TaaS tools, what they do is they give you like very lengthy reports. And that is what takes most of the time. Like if you talk to SSDLC teams, you'll see most of the times is like they look into the report and they, figure out what to do, how to do it, whether this needs to be tackled or not. So here, if you have OpenVAS and you have lengthy reports, you don't have to do anything. Send it to your LLMs. LLMs are going to extract the report, and it is actually going to give you step-by-step instructions like this. This probably is not applicable for you because of XYZ. So LLM does a very good job. Again, I will be very true here. LLM it's not magic right now. It might be in maybe few years, but it definitely does like a lot of it takes away a lot of manual headache. And now you only have to use your brain for what you really like the things that give me, a lot of energy. I only have to concentrate on those things. And this is what LLM is doing. If you just put in that lengthy report, it'll do the analysis and it'll give you the results based on which the analysts can actually have actionable steps as like what they want to do. Another tool is Nmap, which again, I'm sure a lot of you would know, but Nmap is usually used by pen testers. It is a scanning tool. It does network scanning. It does much more. But if you have tools like Open Audit, you don't have to run Nmap because Open Audit technically runs Nmap in the background. So, but you have these tools that you can use, free tools, just install Kali Linux and Nmap comes with it, right? One great thing is, and I'm going to show you how, right? I know this is a lot of theory, but I'm going to show you how exactly you are going to do it. You can have manual updates. You can have manual detection, no more spreadsheets, scripts that can actually run some level of remediation. So all of that can be done. But let me first start with OpenVAS. So again, for those who don't know what OpenVAS is and how these tools work, it's extremely simple. So right now, this is like a Greenbone Assistant running in Kali Linux. And right now, just somebody logging in. I'm going to fast forward it. This is how it looks. You scan your assets. So which assets do you want to scan? You have to have the IP address, right? So let's say I have the IP. Let's say 172.17.0.1. So here, all the assets within this IP, whichever IP you add, all the assets within this IP will be scanned. So all you have to do is just start scan, and it's going to take some time. And you see here status. This is where you'll see that something is getting scanned. Scan 2%, 42%, and this is when the scan gets completed. You will see a report. So this is the report that I'm talking about. This is a huge report, and now you don't have to worry about this huge report. Just put it into LLM, and it's really going to decrease your task a lot. You don't have to read it. And I can tell you with so much surety because I've tried it and it really works. And it does a good job. So I just wanted to show you about like OpenVAS. Like these tools are pretty simple to use. Again, open source, very easy to install. Before I move on to another topic, I want to tell you about a magical tool. I love this tool. And I know some people might not like it. And that's Shell GPT. How many of you have heard about Shell GPT? No one? Oh, okay, awesome. Shell GPT is an awesome tool. Like, so I am learning ethical hacking, and this tool, like, it gave me goosebumps because I did not know enough about hacking systems, and Shell GPT did everything for me, and I'll show you how easy it is. So everything that I was talking about, like, taking the information, put it into the workflow, and, let the LLM do the job. This is what SGPT, I've just tried to create a workflow to show you how it can work. So imagine Shell GPT is using Nmap scripts to scan or detect the assets. Once you get those assets, you put it into tools like OpenVAS to do the vulnerability scanning. Once you have that, it'll parse and extract the critical vulnerabilities, the vulnerabilities which actually needs to be worked on. And then it also has this capability of comparing. So you can take the scan results from OpenVAS Nmap Nexus scan, and it can compare the results, and it can tell you which tool is working better for you, which tools are giving better vulnerability detection for you. So it can do that, and it can update the trackers with new findings. Now, how do you do that? Like, yeah, this sounds good, but how do you actually do it? And you'll be amazed how simple it is. These are the exact prompts that I gave to build this workflow. You see SGPT -S, it's just a prompt. And again, you have to run this in a command prompt because it's Shell. It's like a $5 subscription if you want to use Shell GPT, just like Chat GPT. But the beauty is Shell GPT is specifically created for security. So you can do, like usually if you try using a Chat GPT, you have to give prompts, like you have to trick it to give you information related to security. But this one is meant for security, exploitation, and stuff like that. So you see the prompt, SGPT-S, generate an Nmap command to scan the IP that I had for live host and open ports output to .gnmap. That's it. it did all the work for me. So these are literally the prompts that I used to create this workflow. And I wanted to test it out whether this workflow is really working. So one of the vulnerability that came out of it, I wanted to check whether it's a legit vulnerability or not. So I use SGPT again to exploit that particular vulnerability. And I just gave you the screenshot because I was able to extract the password of the user just by that simple prompt. So if you have not used Shell GPT, I would highly encourage to just explore it. It's a fun tool, but for your security teams, it's heaven. I love it. Okay, so now month one, we have asset and we have the baseline assessment. Now, if you think about it, it is not a lot, like it would not take a lot of time to set up. It's just going to take time for your teams to just know how to work it out. Now, moving to month 2 and 3, we have threat detection, and you would be wondering, why is threat detection 2 months? So that is because, as per my experience, it takes time to like fine tune and the alerts and like to really let the team know that what is working, what is not. So for that, it takes some time, and that is why I've given it 2 months practically, realistically, how you can go ahead and do it. But what are we going to do about threat detection? Again, if you talk to like multiple vendors outside, they're going to talk to you about, some are going to do auto detection really well, some are going to do auto reporting very well, but right now, auto remediation is pretty limited. And I think even though the vendors might not be offering you auto remediation right now, like I would suggest that we can still have some small scripts and agents that can remediate our vulnerabilities to some extent. And we had like some of our team members who presented yesterday who actually showed you how some remediation are actually working. So if you haven't looked at it, when you get time, look at YouTube video, and I can give you that reference. But you can definitely do it. So how do you do it? So auto detection, let's say you have Wazoo agents. Again, all open source. You have Wazoo agents on your endpoints. It is continuously running across your infrastructure. And as soon as it finds any kind of anomaly or any kind of rule-based detection, it is going to send you or it is going to send an information in the log. So now an auto detection happens. Then you have tools like you have Metabase for dashboarding. You have Metabase for BI, and you have Grafana for dashboarding. You can use these tools to have like a dashboarding, and it can give you automatic alerts on your Slack or your email. And again, I know this is a lot of theory, but I'm going to show you exactly how you can do it. And then you have auto remediation, which is like you can have small intelligent bots built that can run small scripts. Again, it is not going to do 100% of the job. And please do not do it without human intervention. Have AI guardrails, as I said before. Like before it actually does job, look at it, whether it's doing it right, and hit. And then you can have those agents do those immediate fixes for you. Okay, lots of words, lots of theory. How do we do it? Trust me, it is not that difficult. Have you heard about NA10? Please say yes. Okay, awesome. So with NA10, I tried to create a workflow. And again, it's not like the best workflow, but it did, the few use cases that I had, it did the job pretty well. So this is an NA10 workflow, which works when, let's say, a Wazoo agent finds an anomaly. That is when this NA10 workflow gets triggered. And what is happening here is the Wazoo agent, basically what it does, they extract the indicators of compromises, the IOC. So let's say an IP, which is malicious or which is something that the Wazoo agent cannot identify, it is going to extract that IOC, whichever it is. So let's say in this case, it is an IP. That IP goes through tools like Alien Vault and like Virus Total, which looks into whether this is something that is known, is this threat something that is already there, which is most of the time the case. Like you would know that this is an IP, a malicious IP. It is going to just gather this information which is coming from the alert itself and the analysis that came out from Virus Total and Alien Vault, and it processes it and sends this IP summary in two ways. So it'll tell you if it is able to detect the IP and it knows it's a known threat, it knows what to do. So it can take those remediation action, which is like block that IP add that rule in the firewall to block that IP. It can do that, but we're not talking about that right now. It is going to prioritize based on whether this IP, like whether this risk is high risk or it's a medium risk. If it's a high risk, it's going to send it to an analyst via Slack. And if it is something which it has already taken care of, or it's a medium risk, it's going to send a summary through email. Again, this is something that I was just building it for myself to test whether these things work out or not. Trust me, it works. And again, if you all are interested, I'm happy to share these workflows for you to try it on your own as well. The second biggest problem is false positives. So like you have so many vulnerabilities and you scan so many vulnerabilities, but they're like, most of the time, 50% of them is like false positive. So we have to do something to reduce those false positives. So again, I was trying things out and I used two things that you'll notice here, which is Elastic ML and Yara. So Elastic ML is basically your Elastic stack, which use your ML engine to do things like fraud detection. So it'll baseline, it'll baseline your environment. So it'll tell you what is not normal for your environment. And Yara, it's basically going to do a pattern matching, which is like, it'll tell you that this is a malware or this is like a phishing attempt or this is a file which is known. So it can pattern match and it can tell you that this is actually legit or not. So that is what's going to happen. So this is a workflow that you can follow, which is like, you enable again the same Wazoo agent, you enable the Wazoo agent. So again, the Wazoo agent, so this is where it takes most of the time, the fine tuning of the alerts. It takes time, you do it many times and you know when to change it, what is more applicable for your environment, what can you remove, what can you call false positive. So this takes most of the time. But then once you have it, you run through Elastic ML and Yara, and at the end, you know which anomalies actually that you have to take an action on, and it goes and you can do a remediation workflow, which is we're going to see that in a while. And then in the bottom, this is just so that it can integrate with your log sources. So now if you have a new log source, it can automatically integrate with your SIEM solution, which means what will happen is it can monitor anything which is broken. So now let's say you have a log source which is not working, something has happened. It'll automatically detect it and it'll automatically try to fix it. And at the end, it'll tell you if it is not able to fix it, it's going to send an alert to your team. So this is just like to ensure that your system is running, but that is more like anomaly detection to reduce your false positives. Okay. All of this, and again, the remediation part is more like you have things like block in the firewall, like block an IP, remove like if there is any code that is going into production, stop if there is any kind of critical vulnerabilities. Those are the small scripts or intelligent bots that you can create and just integrate with this workflow. All of this sounds great, but if you really want to show your leadership that you have done something, you have to show them results and metrics. And the kind of results that I have seen work the most is like, oh, 80% of my code is going through AI scanning before it goes to production. Or like things like, I am able to auto-remediate most of my, 80% is a high number for now, to be honest, but I can say that I can auto-remediate 20 to 30% of my vulnerabilities. And then mean time to remediate is very important. So right now, so I'm from third-party cybersecurity, and I know that to remediate some vulnerability, it really takes time because there's a lot of dependency, and we're going to talk about it in a while. But you can show with use of AI that the time to remediate a vulnerability really goes down, and that is something that creates an impact on leadership, I would say. And fine-tune alert rules. Like, again, the things that I said, right? You can fine-tune the alert and you can say that I have, fine-tuned it to like 10. Like now you only see the top 10 highest risk vulnerabilities that you have to act upon immediately. So these are the kind of metrics that if you show to the leadership, they would be happy about it. Okay, so now we have done asset, we have done the baseline assessment, and we have done the threat detection. So from actively preventing anything bad from happening, we now move to incident response. Trust me, it's a big pain point, especially like since the last few years, the supply chain risks and the incidents have gone up to like 70%. And that is why today you see so many more attacks happening through your supply chain. And I'm sure all of you would have experienced it, saying that, oh, this vendor is impacted, go and check with your vendor, or, go and check in your inventory whether you are the one who are, impacted. So it is because for some reason, I don't know what, but supply chain attacks have gone to like it. There's definitely a high spike. So what do we do for incident responses? Well, I've come up with two solutions. There is a SOAR tool called Shuffle. Shuffle basically helps you. It's like it gives you drag and drop playbook kind of thing, where you can drag and drop your tools, and tools could be like Jira, Slack. You can have complicated tools like your security tools, drag and drop and create a workflow, very similar to like what N8N does for us. But this is a SOAR tool specifically made for like security, automation, and responses. And I'm going to show you how we can do it. Then there is another one called Hive. Hive is a case management tool, which means that you can manage your cases. And with Cortex, it can help you analyze and it can make the changes. And I'm going to show you how. So let's just double click on one or few use cases, right? Imagine that a phishing incident happens. As soon as a phishing incident happens, you have the playbooks that will analyze that there is something suspicious. It automatically blocks your that person. It automatically blocks the IP of like from wherever you got that phishing email, and at the same time, it is going to reset the password, and the user, let's say if my email was phished, the user, which is me, I'm going to get an email from my security team that your password will be reset and I'm going to give you a call in an hour. So now there's auto remediation that is happening, and there's a validation which is done by a human to ensure that, it is actually remediated. Then another use case can be like when in the SIEM tool, when there is some log or any kind of anomaly that happens, it is going to tell you that what are the compromised accounts. It is going to auto-create your tickets, and again, the same workflow. It is going to auto-remediate it. Again, not all of it, but to some, we can definitely do. And again, I'm going to show you how. And agent automation is very similar again. So use tools like N8N or simple Python script to run your intelligent bots to run the automation. This is a workflow that I created with Shuffle. Again, I was not expecting it to be so small, but here, again, as soon as, let's say Wazoo. Let's say Wazoo is the easiest example to explain. Let's say through Wazoo, an anomaly is detected. That's when this Shuffle workflow will be triggered. The information goes into here. Again, it's too small, so I'm not going to go in details. But here what's happening is the intelligence and the analysis is happening in this particular workflow. It is going to check all the bad things that are basically happening in the background, and it is going to send an alert wherever it is required, and it is going to remediate it. These remediation, so Cortex, if you look at it, it's like a brain. So Cortex is doing the analysis, and it can actually give you remediation steps. It's like, what can you actually do to block it then and there? So everything that I explained was you can do with this particular workflow that you have right there. So incident, we are sending an alert automatically through, not AI, but tools like Wazoo. You have automatic triages, which is happening through AI, through the Shuffle tool, or like different kind of integration that you have. You enrich it for sure, right? Because now you have tools like, as I said, Alien Vault and Virus Total, where you're adding in more information about the IOCs, through which you can give it more enrichment and analysis, and now you can hand it over to the analyst to say, go ahead, work with this particular tool. And of course, containment action, which is like the intelligent bots that we talked about. And then you have user notifications, so sending it information through Slack, and you can have tickets or email, whatever is best. And then at the end, you can have the analysis report. This is 100% automated. Like you can just literally send all the information to LLM, and it'll give you a post-mortem report, and it'll tell you what did you not do right and what can you do better. Again, I would say that measurement is really important. So try to track mean time to respond. Technically, in incident response, the number of incident handle should go up. The time to remediate or contain an incident, that should go drastically down. So the mean time to respond and total cases handled per analyst, that should be something which is a great matrix. If you provide it to your leadership, it's going to have an impact, and you'll also know whether that AI or the workflow that you're using is actually doing any good job or not. All right, so we did the three humongous things. Now let's do things that keep your vendors and your clients happy, which is like compliance and external audit. So what do you do? Today, what happens, do you know? Do you know what happens when there is like compliance or like external audit when come in? There are internal audit teams who literally would talk to different team members and they'll collect artifacts to show evidences to your auditors, right? And it is such a big manual burden on teams that it takes a lot of time. And when they go, towards their end year appraisal, like, what did you even do, right? You're just collecting artifacts, which is, I think, is absolutely not justified. So what you can do today, let's make it more intelligent. I know there are tools out there that you can pay, but there are also tools like Rumba. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's an open source GRC suite, and it does a great job. You can just install it. I thought it's okay. You can just install it either through Docker or through VMware, and it gives you the screenshot. So basically, here it'll have different requirements for compliance. So let's say you have GDPR, you have SOC, you have different requirements for each compliance, right? So use this tool. It'll automatically pull in the requirements of whichever compliance you're going with. So let's say you're going with GDPR, right? So it'll pull in all the requirements. So now you maybe have, let's say, a drive where all the information is uploaded. You don't have to do anything. For every requirements, it's going to send an email to the team. You can get the artifacts and it's going to auto-upload to your requirements. So things that technically your external auditor is doing, you are doing it for them. And you don't even have to do anything else. And if there is any evidence missing or is outdated, it'll send an alert to that particular team member saying that, guys, please upload it because it's outdated. So technically you are not doing anything. You can obviously add manual intervention, which is like if somebody is not responding, then you're like, it has been over 2 weeks, guys, please upload the right document. But you have such tools, and now if you integrate with AI, it does wonders. If you do not want to use tools like Aramba, you can also create your own tools. This is one tool that I created. This is just for fun. Okay, I just created this tool. And what it does is here, these are the available frameworks that my tool was supporting. So it pulled in all the requirements, all the current requirement, the latest version, all the current requirements of GDPR, SOC, HIPAA. And based on the information that I had, it could give me the policies that are generated. So for GDPR, again, my scope was very, very limited. So for GDPR, it shows me that I am 100% compliant for my application. But for HIPAA, there was some error and like some evidences were missing. So it shows you warning. So now, like, again, this is a very simple tool. I'm not telling you to use this tool, but with this, I'm just trying to tell you that today, with tools like Replit and Lovable and like awesome tools, you can absolutely create some base level tools for yourself. Again, you don't have to do it. You have tools today, but if you really want to just explore out there, go ahead, explore. You don't have to be like a coder. You just have to be like a visionary and you can get it done. So this is enforcement and remediation. So what I'm trying to show here is, so I ran a gap detection script, which is like it ran through all my evidences folder, and it was able to tell me that what is missing for which of my compliance report. And it was not even for my compliance report. I created a separate audit requirements for just my company. Not my company, but let's say just for myself. So there were like few requirements that I created. I sent it the evidence and I asked my tool to check what are the gaps and what is the evidence or what are the information that is missing. And it gave me everything. I just have to run it. So again, this is also a tool that I created with Replit. I think it was pretty simple. And this is the kind of result that I got from my tool. So GDPR data retention, it says compliant. SOC 2 in progress. So now with these kind of tools, even with Iramba, you can do that. You can see what are the evidences that are uploaded. It can tell you the overdue tasks and the level of automation. So not every compliance report is fully automated because you have to get some manual reports from, let's say, teams. Let's say I need a pen test report, latest pen test report. You would not have it. Like somebody has to run that particular script. So it cannot be 100% automated. So they're like automation level that you can see is achieved for which compliance or which report. Okay. Now we covered all the major parts. And now my favorite topic, because that is where I work very, very closely, is vendor risk management. Again, we work with so many vendors, and not just we. I'm sure all of you work with so many vendors. Even when you say you're using cloud, AWS is your vendor technically, right? So what you can do, again, not with just AWS, but what can you do with like small companies who you want to work with? Let's say AI companies, what can you do? Usually they give you, hey, I have a SOC report, which is great. But what can you do apart from that? There are two things that I want to like give an idea of. Number one is automated doc analysis, which means you can have tools or agents just run on internet and see what information, what documents are available out there for that particular vendor. Just run it with that particular vendor name and see what documents are available. Do a analysis again with the agent. And again, I have Catherine here and she knows that it can be done. We have agents that does that all the time. The second thing what you can do is web scraping, which means run your tools like Shodan Parser or Census. And I'm sure many companies might already be using it. Usually like threat intel teams use it, but you can use these tools to run a scan to see for those particular domains, what information is available or what can be vulnerable out there. So you can run those scans. I'm running out of time, but I want to give you two agents that I use today for myself. One is, so when you get a lot of documents from these vendors for due diligences, you want to do an analysis. And right now you have analysts who's looking into every document, every page, reading everything. You don't have to do that. I created an agent, which is for vendor security posture agent, which is like, this is an agent. All you have to do is just upload all your documents here and ask it to do an analysis, ask it to do a threat modeling for you. And it will give you, again, a basic level of gap analysis. And on top, of course, your analysts can do the assessment. So this is an agent that I created. I'm happy to share if anybody is interested. And a similar agent for compliance reports. So put in your SOC, your PCI, whichever, and put it in this and ask whether it is compliant. Are there any gaps that I have to look into? And it's going to do a great job for you. Again, these agents are something that I just created for myself to check, and trust me, it does a decent job. So if you want to try it out, let me know. Then is vendor onboarding automation, which is very similar to what I said. What we're doing is we're automating the policies and we are running all the domains related to a particular vendor through this website, Have I Been Pawned? From these Have I Been Pawned APIs, you can scan the vendor emails and any kind of domains that are known for data breaches. And that way you can know like a basic level of vendor assessment that this vendor is good or bad, or are there any associated vulnerabilities, rather than just relying on the documents that usually we do today. Before moving on and going away, I know we have very little time left. I want to introduce to you one more tool. It's called Stride GPT. And what this tool does is, you can create your basic architecture diagram. You have tools to create your architecture diagram as well. I'm not going there, but take your architecture diagram, upload it, just provided basic information is like, what is the authentication? What are there any kind of APIs? So just provided basic information, which is just like drag and drop here, and click generate, and it'll give you the basic threat modeling right now. Let me see if I can do it. But it looks something like this. So here, Just put in like what kind of application you have, what kind of data your application might have, is your application internet facing, and what are the authentication, what are you using. And if you want to add more context about your application, and just hit generate threat model, and it's going to do awesome job for you. Again, I am really impressed with these tools. I wanted to let you know. All of this is great, but I would really suggest you to keep measuring. Right now, what we have in the current scenario, in the current world, is still something which is growing. So try to automate what you have, try to scale what you have, and try to see where can you reduce those manual efforts. Try to see what can you add more, later on. So I would say, given the world is moving so fast, there are so many things that you can explore. And if you're a startup, do not hesitate. Again, don't put your confidential data out there, but these are open source free tools that you can just deploy it in your environment. So even if you're trying it out, you're technically trying in your own environment, in your own, security guardrails. So I would absolutely suggest that, please, please, please try it out. Scale automation, continue to track, and again, be curious to experiment with the new AI, at least the open source tools that we have out there today. Um, and that's it. I think you all would be able to help Mike and Arjun secure that $200 investment. So congratulations, CISOs. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. So yeah, I had lots to cover, but if you have questions, if you want to see, okay. Okay. So if you have any questions, I'm here. And again, if you want to connect with me later, happy to connect as well.